It is 11:52 p.m. Somewhere in Gilbert, Arizona, a transport van pulls into the parking lot of a hospital. Inside it, two people from the Maricopa County Medical Examiner's office. Their job tonight is simple, routine, the kind of task they have done more times than they could count. They are here to collect a body. They walk through the corridors most patients never see, past the waiting rooms, past the nurse's station, down toward a door marked with nothing dramatic at all. Just a plain sign, the kind you would walk past without a second thought if you didn't know what was behind it. The room behind that door is kept at a temperature between 36 and 39 degrees Fahrenheit. It is called the cold room. Some people just call it what it is, the morgue. Inside on a table is a boy, 18 months old. He has been in this room alone for nearly 5 hours. Nobody has opened that door to check on him in almost that long. Because 5 hours earlier, a doctor stood in an emergency room down the hall and said 3 words that ended everything, as far as anyone in that hospital was concerned. I call it time of death, 6:20 p.m. But here is the detail that should stop you cold. Here is the reason this case does not end with those 3 words, the way every other case like it does. Because in the hours between that pronouncement and this transport van pulling into the lot, at least 2 police officers, trained observers, standing in that same emergency room and later standing inside that same cold room, reported hearing something. Breathing. Not once, not a single moment that could be explained away and forgotten. Twice, according to the official police report. Separated by nearly an hour. A gasp, an audible release of air, the rise and fall of a small chest. Each time someone had an answer ready. A reflex. Gas escaping a body that had already died. A nurse's voice, calm and practiced, explaining it away before the words had even finished leaving the officer's mouth. Nobody opened the door. Somewhere else in the city, at a police station, 2 parents were sitting across a table from detectives. They had said goodbye to their son less than an hour earlier. They believed as they held him one final time that he was still breathing. They said so. Nobody listened to that either. Not yet. They did not know that as they answered questions about how their son had ended up in a swimming pool that afternoon, their son was at that very moment still alive, still inside a hospital, still inside a room built for people who are no longer with us. They would not find out until much, much later that night. So how does something like this happen? How does a hospital, with trained physicians, with a full nursing staff, with protocols that exist specifically to prevent exactly this kind of catastrophic error, declare a living child dead, and then keep him in a morgue for the better part of 5 hours, while multiple people report signs that contradict that pronouncement? How many chances were there, in that window of time, for someone to open that door and check? For someone to say out loud, "What if we are wrong?" The answer, according to the police report at the center of this case, is this: there were several, and every single one of them was missed, dismissed, or explained away. This is not a story about a miracle. Miracles happen by chance. What happened to this boy happened because a system, built by people, run by people, trusted by people, failed him, over and over, in the span of a single evening. And it was only reversed because a transport team, arriving to do a solemn and ordinary task, happened to notice something everyone before them had chosen not to. Tonight we are going to walk through exactly what happened, hour by hour, using the language of the police report itself. The 911 calls, the moment a doctor called time of death while checking his phone, the gasps that were heard and explained away, not once, but twice, and the moment, just before midnight, when everything changed. By the end, you will understand exactly how close this case came to a very different ending. And you will understand why, for the family of this child, the hardest questions are only just beginning. This is the story of Vincent Lorenzo Fiordilino, the boy who was declared dead and spent nearly 5 hours in a hospital morgue before anyone realized he was still breathing. At 11:52 p.m. on a quiet night in Gilbert, Arizona, a medical examiner's transport team walked into a room kept between 36 and 39 degrees Fahrenheit. They were there to collect a body. Instead, they heard him breathing. An 18-month-old boy, pronounced dead 5.5 hours earlier, left alone in the dark, in the cold, on a steel table meant for the deceased. This is not a story about a miracle. This is a story about every single moment when someone could have stopped what was happening, and didn't. This is the case of Vincent Lorenzo Fiordilino. Super Bowl Sunday, February 8th, a house in Gilbert, Arizona, packed with family, food, and the noise of a football game playing inside. At some point in the afternoon, Vincent's parents, Alexis and Angelo Fiordilino, both 29 years old, stepped away. First into the garage to talk, then to a couch in the backyard, in view of the pool to watch the game. They told police they later smoked marijuana that morning. Both admitted to it. For approximately 15 minutes, no one noticed that Vincent was gone. When Alexis realized her son was missing, she began searching. She found him in the backyard, face down, in the pool. She pulled him out and started CPR immediately. Police reports describe her noticing foam coming from his mouth as she worked. Angelo carried him to the front yard and continued compressions there, on the pavement, while someone called 911. The first 911 call lasted 5 minutes and 51 seconds, the time it took for officers to arrive. The second call followed, 4 minutes long. On the recordings, an operator is heard asking for the boy's weight, whether the house had a gate code. In the background, a relative can be heard saying the boy was starting to respond. Vincent was rushed to the emergency room at Mercy Gilbert Medical Center. He was still fighting. Inside the emergency room, a team went to work on Vincent. Among them was Dr. Arian Tusi, an osteopathic physician. At 6:13 p.m., according to the police report, Dr. Tusi was seen checking the time, not on a watch, not on a hospital clock, on his personal cell phone, in a case described in the report as cheetah print, orange and black. Then he stepped out to speak to the parents. Minutes later, back inside the emergency room, an officer present raised a concern. The child still appeared to be breathing. Dr. Tusi's response, according to the police report, was direct. He wanted the officer to let him do his job. He told the officer he had gone to medical school for a reason. At 6:20 p.m., Dr. Tusi called the time of death. He asked for a moment of silence. Vincent's parents were brought in to say goodbye. And here is where the case turns from tragedy into something else entirely. Because both parents told police that as they said goodbye to their son, they believed he was still breathing. They described what looked like gasping. An officer in the room reported watching the boy's chest rise and fall. Hospital staff had an explanation ready. They called it agonal breathing, a reflex, they said, sometimes seen in a body after death. Gas escaping, nothing more. The family accepted it. A doctor had just told them their son was gone. But the police report tells a different story about what happened next. One written not by grieving parents, but by trained officers standing in the room, watching and taking notes. At 7:18 p.m., staff began preparing to move Vincent from the trauma room into the hospital's so-called cold room, the space that functions as Mercy Gilbert's morgue, kept at a temperature between 36 and 39 degrees. As they moved him, a detective on scene reported hearing another audible gasp. At 7:23 p.m., the door to the cold room was closed. 1 hour later, the same detective returned, this time to photograph the body, a standard step in documenting a death. He heard it again, in his own words recorded in the police report, what appeared to be a gasp or a release of air. A nurse offered the same explanation as before, agonal breathing. A byproduct, she said, of the earlier CPR, the compressions, the oxygen, even the physical pressure from family members embracing him as they said their goodbyes. There is another detail in the report that has drawn less attention, but carries enormous weight. A nurse in a separate room was overheard telling someone, "I have a pulse." That statement exists in the same police report that documents 2 separate instances of an officer hearing the child breathe inside a room built for the dead. No one reopened the door. For nearly 4.5 more hours, Vincent Lorenzo Fiordilino remained inside that room, alone, in the cold, while his parents, having just watched a doctor declare their son dead, were taken to a police station and questioned by detectives about how their child had ended up in the cool in the first place. They did not know, in that moment, that the story was not over. Just before midnight, a transport team from the Maricopa County Medical Examiner's Office arrived at Mercy Gilbert Medical Center. Their task was routine: begin the process that follows any pronounced death. Instead, when they entered the cold room, they found an 18-month-old boy breathing. Not gasping, not a reflex. Breathing. The report describes the moment plainly. He was found alive. The family was notified immediately. Vincent was airlifted to Phoenix Children's Hospital, the same hospital that one day later would tell his family his organs were shutting down. His kidneys, his lungs, his liver, all described by doctors as struggling. An MRI at the time suggested brain damage. The family was told he might need lifelong care. Nearly 6 hours had passed since a doctor confidently called his time of death. For almost 4.5 of those hours, at least 2 officers reported hearing signs that contradicted that pronouncement, and were told each time that what they were witnessing was simply the body settling into death. Vincent survived. Contrary to the early grim predictions from doctors at Phoenix Children's Hospital, more recent updates report that he has been released from the hospital. His family has said he required a ventilator to breathe and will need extensive therapy and long-term medical monitoring. Whether the brain damage identified in the initial MRI will have lasting effects remains part of his continuing recovery. Dr. Arian Tusi has not been criminally charged. Records show no disciplinary action currently on his medical license. Mercy Gilbert Medical Center, operated by Dignity Health, says it conducted its own internal review of what it called a heartbreaking situation. The hospital has declined to say whether Dr. Tusi remains on staff, citing patient privacy. When reporters reached him, Dr. Tusi referred all questions to his attorney, Scott Holden, who has said only that there is much more to this case than the police report reflects. But it is Vincent's parents who are facing the more immediate legal consequence. Gilbert police have recommended that Alexis and Angelo Fiordilino be charged with felony child abuse for the 15 minutes in which their son was left unsupervised near the pool. The police report notes, both parents admitted to using marijuana earlier that day, and investigators have raised the question of whether that impaired their attention. The Maricopa County Attorney's Office is currently reviewing the case. No formal charges have been filed, as of this reporting. So consider for a moment the full shape of this story. A child nearly drowns because of a lapse in supervision that lasted a quarter of an hour. For that, his parents may face felony charges. A doctor pronounces that same child dead, while multiple witnesses, police officers, trained to observe and report exactly what they see, document signs of life, not once, but repeatedly, over a span of nearly 5 hours. For that, no charges have been filed. This case raises questions that go beyond one hospital, one doctor, or one family. How does a pronouncement of death get made and held, while multiple people in the room are reporting audible breathing? What protocol, if any, requires a second confirmation of death before a body is moved into cold storage? Why, when an officer stated she heard a gasp inside the morgue itself, did staff not return to check? And perhaps most pointedly, what does it mean that the standard explanation offered in the moment, agonal breathing, a reflex of the dead, was repeated at least 3 separate times by different staff to different witnesses over the course of an evening, and was wrong every single time? These are not questions with comfortable answers. The hospital's internal investigation has not been made public. The county attorney's office has declined to comment on the ongoing investigation. What we know for certain is this. On February 8th, in a hospital in Gilbert, Arizona, a boy who was very much alive spent nearly 6 hours believed to be dead, including more than 4 hours inside the room built to hold bodies until they are collected for autopsy. He is alive today because a transport team arriving to do a routine and somber task happened to notice something that changed everything. Not because the system caught its own mistake, because someone walked into a cold room at the right moment and listened. Vincent Lorenzo Fiordilino is home now. His recovery continues. His family has said the road ahead involves extensive therapy and ongoing care for organs that were, for a brief and terrifying window, shutting down. The investigation into what happened inside Mercy Gilbert Medical Center that night is still active. The investigation into what happened beside that backyard pool is still active too. 2 families of questions, one 5.5-hour gap between them, and a little boy who, by every account written into an official police record, was trying the entire time to tell everyone in that building that he was still there. This story is built from statements in the Gilbert Police Department report and named sources cited by ABC 15, NBC News, AZFamily, and other outlets as of early July 2026. The Maricopa County Attorney's Office has not yet announced charging decisions, and Mercy Gilbert Medical Center has not released its internal review. Any narration should note these are ongoing, unresolved matters, and that individuals named have not been convicted of any wrongdoing. Subscribe for more real crime investigations, covered with accuracy and respect.